Hi, we're going to be talking about sleight of hand. And although this lesson deals specifically with coins, it can actually be applied to many different items. Like the text says, that other small objects may be handled in a similar manner to the coin sleights. You could use lots of different things in place of coins: keys, little model cars, lockets, little trinkets that you would find in the store, all kinds of different objects, or a selection of coins, foreign coins, tokens, lots of different things in different sizes. We're going to start out with the basics of palming. Now, this is not just the realm of the coin-gician. This can be applied to any sleight of hand that you're going to do close up, and also some things that you'll need on stage. So let's get right into it with the flat front palm. It's come to be known as the classic palm. And basically all you're going to do is place your object in the center of your palm like this and grip it with the base of your thumb and the base of your little finger on that side. And the coin or object will stay right here. Now, that's how it's taught, but here's how you really do it. You should take your hand and just relax it. And once you get it into a relaxed position, then take whatever object you're going to palm in classic palm and locate the sweet spot. Just place it into your hand so that your hand doesn't move at all. All you have to do is maybe adjust your thumb just a little bit to give a little bit of pressure. That way your hand will look completely natural. A natural hand you can study in artworks. Various artworks of Michelangelo, for example, showed different hands in different positions. And you'll always notice that the fingers curl gently, and as you get from the first finger down to your last finger, they will curl ever so slightly more. So if you can step them in a little bit like this, relax your hand, place the object in place, and keep your hand relaxed, you'll have a much more believable, relaxed, natural palm. The different objects, of course, are going to require different placements in your hand. And depending on how heavy they are, or even depending on the climate that you live in, you're going to have different places that you can hold objects. Of course, when you get to something really small, like this, you have to go deeper in your palm. If you imagine that the line underneath your thumb and the line running from your little finger come together in a V, those two muscles are used to grip from the tiniest object all the way up to the largest object. Now, of course, when you get something palmed like this, it might show through your fingers, and so you have to lay them together gently, curling the fingers in naturally. Now, when you do have something palmed, it's usually a good idea to have something else in your hand so that it's not obvious that you're holding something out. Sometimes, though, you're just going to want to do that with misdirection. When you palm something, you're just going to want to pay attention where the object is not, as opposed to where it is in your palm. The pressure palm is the next one that's described, and it's for odd-shaped objects. So let's take something bulky like this. A pressure palm is basically the same position as a classic palm, but you place your third finger on the object. And you do want to bend it as flat as possible so that it's extended behind your hand like that. Of course, that looks pretty unnatural until you curl your other fingers in. And of course, if you're holding on to something, then you can keep that hidden object in place using just the tip of your ring finger. That's the pressure palm. It's not really that common that you would use it very much, but it's a good thing to know when you're going to deal with something unusual like that. The front edge palm is basically the classic edge grip, and that's for a large object like this. Instead of being flat, it's going to be placed like so that it's sticking out. The reason you'd want to do that is, well, first of all, if you need to get it with your other hand, usually for a transfer, something like that, you'll want to be able to clip the edge very easily. So in this case, some kind of a changeover would be what you're going to be going for there. Edge palm isn't, again, used that much, but if you do have some kind of an odd object where you can't quite get it flat in your hand, you might want to go with the front edge grip. The thumb palm, front thumb palm, you place the coin like this and you're clipping it. Now, of course, I'm holding my hand as flat as possible. You're going to want to relax your hand again. Rest your thumb against the side of your hand and then place the object here. And always check yourself in a mirror so that you can see that the back of your hand is relaxed. Of course, the advantage to a thumb palm is that you can have a flatter hand if you need to, say, wave your hand over something. The disadvantage to the thumb palm is that your thumb is locked in position like this. There's also a tendency when you thumb palm for the tip of the thumb to come up like this. You have to avoid that. You want to keep the tip of your thumb down so that your hand looks much more natural. And in fact, if you keep your hand slightly angled so that your thumb is here, it's hard to tell whether the thumb is against the hand or away from the hand, and so it looks a lot more like your hand is just in a relaxed position. Now, of course, there's the back thumb palm. Back thumb palm is basically the same idea. Thumb is clipped here. The coin is behind your hand, held by the thumb like so. It's not very common that you see this anymore because most close-up magicians avoid this because this is the realm of the stage magician, where you have it behind your hand like that. Although you will find some uses for it for, again, other objects at different times where you want to just show that your hands are completely empty, and then that is either going to be ditched or transferred over to your other hand. Of course, we'll get into that stuff a little bit later. Now, the invisible thumb palm. This is probably one of my favorites, probably one of everybody's favorites who ever learns this one. It's come to be known as the Downs palm because T. Nelson Downs used to use this all the time. And basically what's going to happen is the coin will end up edge gripped at the base of your thumb, in between your thumb and your index finger at the base. Now, here's why it's called the invisible thumb palm. If you turn your hand so that your thumb is actually hiding the edge of that coin, it really looks like your hand is completely empty. That coin can't be seen. And it's obvious that your thumb is not pressed tightly against your hand. So this is a beautiful one to have as natural an open palm as possible. It's really great on stage, but it's also really nice close up. I'll show you how to get into and out of it in just a little bit. Now we're going to go into the finger palm. Finger palm is actually great for just about anything. As long as you can have a natural and relaxed hand, you can finger palm any object that you can hide behind your four fingers. The basic finger palm is a coin or object is placed at the base of your fingers like this, and then they're curled very slightly. Now in my case, all I need to curl is my ring finger, just a little bit, and it holds that coin in place. So I like a slightly modified finger palm where it comes down just above my third finger. And I use that for lots of different objects. My third finger is going to hold it in place. Of course, from the back of the hand, those two fingers have to be together so that the object doesn't show. Your other fingers can be separated, but you don't want to separate them too much. If you separate them a lot, then it looks like you're trying to hide something between those two fingers. So again, relax your hand, look at your relaxed hand in a mirror, bring your fingers together, take the object, place it into finger palm. Try not to change your finger position as you do that. Larger objects actually become much easier in finger palm. Longer objects can go from a finger palm to the base of the thumb, so they're much easier to hold than trying to get the entire thing into a flat classic palm. We're going to do the curled fingertip palm, which is really nice for transfers from one hand to another. It's a little odd one, but basically all that's going to happen is that the coin is clipped between the two center fingers and just held loosely behind your hand like this. It can be clipped just about anywhere. Of course, you don't want to have these two fingers sticking out, so they're also gently curled in, or your index finger can be pointing. Again, it's not one that you would hold on to for a very long time, but if you need to get something from one hand to the other for some reason, then it's a nice one because you can extend those fingers behind whatever you're doing with your other hand. You'll find uses for that, I'm sure. Basically, you just have to get comfortable with it resting on your curled fingers. The front finger palm is called a palm. It's actually a clip. You're not palming it, you're clipping it between your little finger and your index finger like this. Now your hand can be kind of flat when you do that, but it's also somewhat unnatural because your fingers do have to stay together. So this one is an unusual one that's nice to know for unnesting shells, for example. If you have a coin with a shell over it and you want to unnest it, you can then grip it and pick it up in the front finger clip, is what I like to call it. But it was used by manipulators on stage so that they could show the back of their hand, and then they would turn their hand over and you wouldn't see the coin because they would transfer it into the back finger clip. So this is the front finger palm. This is the back finger palm. So from this side you would see the palm of the hand, and it's clipped in exactly the same way. Right here between those two fingers, whether it's behind them or in front of them. Now, you'll want to rehearse with this if you do want to do it on stage. This is one of the most challenging clips to do, to transfer from the back to the front. To do that, you point your fingers down and back. Now, I'm going to show it to you. It's here, but you bring your fingers down and back as you close your hand into a fist. I always use my thumb to assist, but guys who are really, really good at this don't even have to use their thumb. But I'm just going to rest my thumb on the coin for a second as I extend the middle fingers in front of the coin. That allows me to show the back of the coin, or back of my hand, like this. So now if I curl those fingers back again and push the coin back behind, I can now show the palm of my hand. So to do that up to speed, it looks like this. And then the coin can be produced. Okay? So that's the front and the back finger clip. There is a finger clip that you can use between your index and middle finger. That's the next one that comes up. But that's a little bit easier to support it that way, and it's great for producing coins. It's just clipped between your index and middle finger just like this. And when you go to produce the coin, you just push it up. Of course, this works for any object that can be clipped between your fingers so that you can produce it very easily. And you can also do that as a back finger clip between the index and middle fingers the same way. And that, if you do it properly, cannot be seen from the front, but you can transfer it from the back to the front just by curling your fingers in and pushing the coin through your fingers. So that brings it to this grip, and push it through your fingers, and it's at that grip. So if you wanted to do a change over here, you would bring it in so that they can see the back of your hand, and then as you turn your hand like this, you push the coin through, and it goes behind your hand so it can't be seen. Just different options on how you could use it. Now, the last thing is, at least the last one that's listed here in the book, is the closed finger palm. It's very awkward, it's poorly described, it's poorly illustrated, and it's not really that useful. So here's what it is. The closed finger palm is the coin is on edge and held basically between those fingers like this, almost held like you would hold a ball in position for, say, the cups and balls. But again, it's just an awkward position to be in, and it doesn't make any more sense than putting it here or clipping it here. Of course, there's been a lot of advancements in coin magic since these sites were first published, so there are a lot of things that aren't covered, and there's at least one or two that are kind of my personal favorites that I'm just going to mention to you because we might use those along the way. One of them is the pinky pinch, sometimes called the Gashman or Tenkai pinch, and basically that's where the coin is held behind your hand using just your little finger. From the front, this is what you see. From the back, it's clipped just with the tip of your little finger, like so. And getting into that position is just what you saw me do there. You can just push it around the back of your fingers, clip it with your little finger, and then open your hand. Now, of course, this is done, in the action of placing the coin somewhere else. We're going to get into those kinds of transfers in just a little while. Another nice position, and a lot of other magicians are working with this now because it just looks like the hands are completely empty, is a modified back finger clip where it's resting right here between the knuckles of those two fingers. And to get into that position, you would typically start with it here, and I'm going to use a slightly larger coin because it does work a little bit better with a slightly larger coin. When you pivot it around with your index finger, it ends up resting in this position. And it's one of those situations where, again, you're acting like you're transferring it. Looks like your hand is completely empty, even though it's clipped at the back of your fingers. Now, regardless of the palm position or the clip position or the object that you're using, you always want to check yourself in a mirror, like I said. Always make sure that your hands are very relaxed and that it doesn't look like you're trying to grip onto something. When you first start to learn palming, there's a tendency to use more muscles than you really need to use. As a matter of fact, if you just get a relaxed hand and place an object there, you'll find that you can hold it with just a very light grip without changing your hand position very much. That's what you're going to strive for. So always try different positions, different clips, and you'll find one that works really well for you in your routine. Now let's talk about this little section called holds that are used in coin sleights. Well, holds are just where you have the coin held between your fingers. So really, if you're just holding onto the coin like this, or holding onto it like that, but they do have basically names that are important because a lot of these holds are critical for getting into the palms that we've just discussed. So this is known as the fingertip clip. It's really simple. You're just holding the edge of the coin between your index finger and your middle finger like this. You'd normally go from here to there. It's a great hold to know, especially for the Downs palm, the invisible thumb palm, because you transfer it into that position using that hold. The two-finger balance, wherever you're balancing it on whatever two fingers you're using, it's just called the two-finger balance. Well, you could just as easily call it a one-finger balance or a fingertip balance. And that's really what we call it now. Now, the reason you'd want to use a fingertip balance is to position for one of the other palms. For example, if you take a coin and you find your sweet spot for your classic palm, and then you curl your fingers in underneath that coin and just let it drop onto the tips of those fingers, you will find the perfect spot for the fingertip balance. What I mean by this is that you can now take a coin, place it into that perfect spot just by turning your hand over you can automatically classic palm it in your most natural grip. So that eventually you'll be false transferring it, but it will go into classic palm. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But that's one of the holds, is a fingertip balance. Now, the thumb fingertip horizontal hold. This sounds kind of funny, but basically you're just holding on to the coin between your thumb and your fingertips like this. And that's it. Now you can hold it here to the side, you can hold it up like this. With the thumb fingertip horizontal hold, it's one that's used for getting into some of the other palms. For example, if you just drop it, it'll go into a finger palm. And you can also go into what's known as a Ramsey subtlety. Ramsey subtlety is basically when you're in a finger palm position with the object like this, and you turn your hand over to display your open palm, but the curved fronts of your fingers hide that it's in finger palm position. And you'll see this very often in work that makes it look like the coin is gone and the hand is shown open, like this. Now, the vertical hold, the thumb fingertip vertical hold, instead of being held like this, it's actually held like that. This is great for getting into the front finger clip, which would be here. You just rotate from here to here. Or getting into the Tenkai Gashman pinch by going over the back of your hand like that. Now, the production clip is basically the way that I'm holding the coin right now, but all I'm going to do is, instead of holding it vertically like this, I'm going to turn my hand and pull my fingers in like that, so that you can see the coin extended right at the tips of my fingers. This is a great thing on stage, especially if you have some kind of a palming coin. These are made much thinner with a milled edge, and they're much, much lighter, so they're really easy to work with. But as soon as you produce it, if you have the rest of your hand out of the way, curled in, and you give that coin a little bit of a shake, then it really looks like a nice, good, solid coin, and it looks like it's a little bit too big to fit behind your fingers. So that's the production grip. Now, the pinch clip is where you hold the coin with your thumb on the bottom, your fingers on the top like this. It's very similar to this hold, but turned with your hand up or down like that. You're holding it between your index finger and your thumb. And this is called the pinch clip because you can just pinch the coin and it will fold flat into your hand like so. So it looks like it's going somewhere else, but you're just pinching it together. And of course you can use any size coin or some of the other objects to do the same thing. The flat finger position, it's a very natural position, and it's pretty useful too. As a matter of fact, you just have this place for the coin. It seems like a really good place to hold the coin. All you're doing is laying it flat on your fingers. The reason it's useful is because just by curling your hand slightly, the coin becomes palmed. But it looks like the coin should fall out. So with very little action of your hand, you can get a coin palmed and make it look like you've transferred it to another place. Now, we get into something that's kind of an unusual way to hold it. It's called the fist horizontal and fist vertical holds. They look kind of like this. This is the fist horizontal hold, where you lay it on your hand like that, and the fist vertical hold, you just place it like this. Now, the book says that you can use this to vanish the coin by pretending to pick it up with your right fingertips while dropping it into your hand. Don't do that. That looks very, very bad. In fact, it's very obvious what's going on with the coin. When you come over, anyone could tell you've put it in an unnatural place and did an unnatural action with it. Now, this particular hold has some uses, but we're not going to talk about them right now. There are some great routines that use this, but that particular vanish is not one of them. All right? So now you've learned a few different places to put a coin. You could come up with your own names for various things. There's also, just balancing the coin on your thumb to display it, rolling the coin down your hand, other things like that. We'll get into some more manipulation. I'm avoiding doing those things right now because we just want to talk about the basics. The real basics of all of this, as far as where to hold an object, is to try to hold objects where they can be seen very easily by the audience and yet palmed very quickly in one of your standard palms. So the more you practice with more objects, the more comfortable you'll become with where to hold them to get them into placement very, very quickly. Okay, so we have learned how to hold a coin, we have learned how to palm a coin, but we haven't learned how to put it all together yet. What we're going to talk about now are manipulative methods for vanishing a coin or any other small object. We're just using a coin to demonstrate. So we're going to do now the front thumb palm vanish. So we're going to start with a clip like this. I actually like to start with it displayed, then go into the clip, and then bend it in and get it thumb clipped. Now I'm using the downs there. I should actually use the way that the book says to do it, which is to clip it like this. I prefer the downs, as you probably will too, but this is the way that it would look. When you transfer over like this, you'd place your fingers here, and then the coin would vanish. Now, I'll show you the exposed view and give you a couple of pointers on this. First, if you start like this, as your hands come together, that's when you transfer your index finger, putting it into a clip position, and as it gets close to your left hand, your thumb extends, clips the coin, and then these two fingers, your index and middle finger, come back out and touch the base of your left hand's fingers and push your left hand away. This pushing action should cause your left hand to close over nothing. Now, it should look like you're doing this. Everything should simulate a real action. It should look like you're doing that, taking the coin away. And from the front, like that. These two fingers should still be extended and touching your hand. That is what you're actually doing, and it should simulate this action. Okay? So again, displayed, clipped, push, and then you can vanish it. Now, from this position, if you have a top pocket or a pocket on your shirt, you can ditch this coin. Now, I'm going to take off my jacket just to show you how easy this is to do. You take the coin like this, transfer it into your hand like that, and then lean forward. Your right hand with the thumb-clipped coin comes just above your pocket, and then you can make the coin vanish. Now, it's important that you lean forward, because if you do this, then it looks like you're bringing your hand back to your pocket. So you want to motivate the pocket coming underneath the hand, not the hand coming to the pocket. So start like this, clip it in place, lean forward, and then you can vanish the coin. And all of your attention, of course, is focused on where the coin is. That's the top pocket vanish. We're now going to do the front flat palm vanish. Tarbell says that it's old and it's less preferred than the finger palm. Well, I disagree with that. The front flat palm vanish is basically using the classic palm, going from a fingertip rest into a classic palm position. Now, if you can do this as easily as you can do a clip, this looks much more natural. You take the coin from here and drop it into your hand, and it's gone. That's much more natural, plus your hands are open and your thumb is able to move around. The basic idea of it is that you're resting it on your fingers. When you turn your hand over, you palm it, just as I showed you before. Then your fingers extend, touching your left hand again, which causes your left hand to close. Now, I'm going to take a moment to explain that one of the hardest things to do is to close your hand around nothing. And that's why I think it's important for you, when you're learning all of these vanishes, to train your mind and your hand to close when it gets touched like this. So, if I'm practicing a vanish like this one, I'll act like I pick something up. I'll do the movement and then touch my hand for it to close, using absolutely nothing. Now, if you can do that and make it look like you're putting something into your hand, practice, of course, in front of a mirror to watch yourself doing that, then add in the coin, then it will really look like you're actually putting something into your hand, even though there's nothing there. So I prefer this one over most of the other ones. It gets into a nice position. Rest position, classic palm, touch, close the hand, and it vanishes. Now, I also mentioned earlier the front finger palm vanish, which is really a nice variation on this, where you're basically just resting the coin on your hand like this, and you act like you dump it into your hand. This is one of the most natural ways to transfer a coin from one place to another to make it look like you actually placed it there. It should simulate the coin just being tossed into your hand like this. In fact, you can toss a coin back and forth a couple of times to show it, and then on the last toss, you can cause it to vanish. All you're doing is turning your hand and finger palming the coin. Now, in this case, the left fingers should touch the back of your right little finger, like that. You don't really need that cover, but again, it helps make it seem like the coin is just sliding off into your hand, even though it's staying in finger palm position. And you can practice these moves very slow and very gently, or you can practice them very naturally as though you're just tossing a coin from one place to another. As long as you have that motion exactly right to simulate what you're supposed to be doing. So that is the front finger palm vanish, and there's a little bit of an addition to that. If you start with the coin up here, you can allow it to slide toward your hand and then apparently take it in your hand. So it's this little extra sliding movement that makes it seem like the coin slides all the way off. Basically, you're doing the same thing, but giving it a little slide into finger palm position, then turning and finger palming it as you bring your hand away. So it should just simulate the coin running right down your palm and into your hand. And now let's talk about the thumb grip vanish. The thumb grip vanish, it allows you to minimize your movements, just like the ones that I've shown you, and it's really good for something that's a little large or a little heavy, but there's a big chance of it flashing. The thumb grip vanish is basically like this. You take any object and just place your thumb on it. So you're not really putting it into a clip position. You're just bringing your thumb over and placing it on it like this. And you would do the same action as though you were finger palming it. Like I said, it works for something that's a little bulkier because it's kind of more of a challenge to finger palm something like this. You have to curl your fingers in pretty far to do it. It's much easier just to lay your thumb on it like so. So all you're going to be doing is bringing your thumb over and not allowing it to fall out of your hand. And you should do this as you turn your right hand up and put your left fingers against the back of your little finger of your right hand, like so. And that's it. It'll simply look like you've dumped it into your hand. Those are the actions that you want to simulate. It should look the same whether you dump it into your hand or whether you keep it in your right hand like so. So it's just placing your thumb on it. That's the grip. Like I said, it's good for large or heavy or odd-shaped objects. This would be something that would be kind of challenging to vanish otherwise. But if you place it into your hand using the thumb grip, then it's pretty simple to hold on to. Now, the finger palm vanish that's described is not that different from the front finger palm. It's basically the same thing. It's in the same position, just a little bit lower, like that, curling the same way. Now, like I said, when I do a finger palm, I actually prefer the third finger. So it's the placement that I would normally put it, is what is being called the finger palm vanish. It's really the same actions, exactly the same kind of study for that. The next one is called the lift-up vanish. Now, the lift-up vanish, well, it's kind of unusual. So let me just try to show you what the lift-up vanish looks like. It can be just about anywhere on your hand, and then you just lift the coin up, and it disappears. Now, this is where we start to get into a distinction between putting something into your hand or taking something with your hand. We should make a clear distinction on this because all of these vanishes up to this point have required the coin going from one hand to another hand before it vanishes. And if that action isn't motivated, then the audience is going to naturally suspect that the coin is still in the first hand. So you have to motivate it in some way. I'm going to show you just a simple motivation before we get into the lift up vanish. So here's a nice motivation for this. Look, I have a coin, and I'm going to place it into my hand and wave this car over it like that, and it causes the coin to disappear. So if we do that, I need my right hand to pick up the car, so I need to place the coin into that hand and then pick up the car. At least that's what I'm trying to make them believe. So by false transferring into a finger palm, and then apparently using my empty hand to pick up that car as the reason for it to vanish, and then going into a Ramsey subtlety to make it look like there's absolutely nothing there, now every one of those actions is justified. The only weird part about it is this. I could just pick up the coin in my left hand and pick up the car with my right hand and wave it over the coin. Of course, that would be much more challenging to make the coin vanish under those circumstances, although you will learn some ways to do that. So now we have to think about taking a coin from one hand to another. You see, putting a coin into my hand for some reason kind of makes sense. Showing a coin in one hand and then taking it doesn't make as much sense, unless I've already firmly established that I'm right-handed. So, putting objects from my right hand into my left hand, that makes sense, because my right hand is the hand that I use for all of my actions. Taking a coin out with my right hand would make more sense. So, the putting vanishes make sense in the left hand. The taking ones make sense with my right hand. You see, if I'm displaying a coin like this, and then I take the coin and vanish it, it makes a lot more sense in that direction. That's just one of the little subtle examples of how you can improve on these vanishes. Now, of course, these are very, very simple vanishes that we're doing right now. But let's talk about the invisible thumb palm, because that's the next one. And the invisible thumb palm is great, because you can show that the coin is completely gone, and then you can put the coin back together, piece by piece, with your hands completely empty. It's a really nice stand-up piece, and actually not that difficult to do. What you're going to do is start in the clip like this, and then go into the invisible thumb palm, also known as the Downs palm, as you apparently place the coin into the other hand. You'll notice how I'm touching that hand with my fingers. So, curl in, contact, close, the focus goes to here. Now, at this point, the coin is held in that edge grip behind the thumb, so that when I turn my hand like this to grab something, my middle finger is hiding it as it swings, and then my thumb hides it as we get to this point. So it looks like I'm grabbing nothing out of the air and placing it over here. And you can do that a couple of times, and then you just go back into the clip with those fingers and bring it right into the center. It's also a nice production. For example, if you're doing coin productions and you, instead of vanishing it, you put the coin away, you can then produce another one, put that one away, and produce another one. The coin is actually never put away. It just looks like it's going into my hand. My hand goes into my pocket, and at the same time, I'm taking the invisible thumb-palmed coin and bringing it over here so that it goes right to that position. And then I'm just going to reach these fingers in, clip it, and pop it up like that. It's very simple to do, and it's a lot of fun. Really one of my favorite illusions to do with a coin. It works really great for Miser's Dream or a lot of coin routines that you might put together. And next, we get to an old favorite, Le Tourniquet, or the French drop. I say a favorite, but this is actually a very archaic way of displaying and vanishing a coin. Now, it does have a really kind of a neat use. In fact, I'm going to transfer over to a nice big coin like this so that you can see what le tourniquet is supposed to look like. You basically display the coin at the tips of your fingers like this, and then you reach in and take the coin and vanish it. At least that's the way it's described in the book. And then Tarbell says that he has an improved French vanish. Well, his improvement is really the original way that the coin was supposed to be taken. It's a subtle thing. In what he describes as the vanish, he has you coming over, dropping the coin, and making a fist and coming away. In his improvement, he has you come over and just cover it with your fingers, drop it, and make it seem like you're taking it away with just your fingers. Well, that is the proper way to do the vanish, is to apparently take it with just your fingers. So if you see it done that way, it doesn't actually look too bad. It looks like you have the coin here and it vanishes without going into your hand. Not too bad at all. The problem is, of course, when you're taking it, this other hand has nothing to do. Well, there's a couple of things that you can do it. Like Paul had an improved vanish where he holds the coin sideways so that you can show both sides of the coin, then come over and take it, and then he vanishes it with the wave of his empty hand. So he's actually putting a lot of things together here. So first of all, you're only holding it like this so you can display the coin. That makes some sense. Then you put your fingers together like this, and when you come in and cover the coin with just your fingertips, you're going to let it fall into a palm position. The other hand comes away, and then as it comes away, you rotate from a finger palm position into a Ramsey position and extend one finger, and use that as though it's a magic wand to make the coin disappear. So by putting all of that together, you give the illusion that the coin is there and then gone, and that this hand is empty the whole time. Well, a lot of this stuff is really great, but one of the best uses of this vanish is what's known as the spider vanish. Now, this is a modern update of the French drop, and it looks a lot like this. Where the coin really does disappear. There's a lot going on there. It's mostly psychology. The psychology is this, that if you take a coin from this hand and vanish it, well, then it has to be in that hand. So you're thinking ahead of the audience, because with the spider vanish, you actually do take the coin with your right hand. And yet you hold your left hand in an unnatural position on purpose. And then as the coin is taken with your right hand, instead of vanishing it, you're simply palming it and making it seem like you vanished it. Now, that's how the spider vanish gets its name, by the action of the right hand looking like a spider opening up. And then you put your attention back on your left hand and show that it's empty as well. Now, you put all of that together, and it really does look like the coin is gone. There's no place to look. Now, I always do this gesture, by the way, which is simply resting the coin in your palm and just showing the backs of your hands and then coming back down into a classic palm position. All right, let's talk about the nip-away vanish, Tarbell's nip-away coin vanish. This is one of the precursors to the retention vanish, and this is basically what it looks like. You take the coin, and it's gone. Now, of course, since I like taking actions to be with the right hand, I'm going to transfer the coin over here and show it to you this way. It just feels more natural for me. It's a modest variation on the tourniquet, on the French drop, but it's got some nice potential to it. Basically, what's happening is that your hand, I'm going to switch back over here so you can see a little bit better. What's happening is that the hand that's coming in to take the coin away just pushes the coin with the thumb and rotates it behind the fingers like this. So push and apparently take it away, like this, push and away. Now, that action is kind of weird, like I said. To come over and take the coin away, it doesn't make as much sense as putting the coin in. So now we get into the Superba coin vanish. And the Superba coin vanish takes this a little bit further. Instead of taking the coin away, we're going to be placing the coin into our fist, like that. And then it vanishes. Now, honestly, this one isn't an improvement. As a variation, it starts to go in the right direction toward a retention vanish, but it has such an unnatural position of the hand and an unnatural placement of the coin that it's almost ridiculous to make people think that the coin is going to be here and then trying to hide it there. All you're doing is rolling the coin behind your fingers and then lifting your fingers up like that. And apparently you're pushing the coin into your fist, but it's really hard to make that believable. So we go to the next step, which is the direct coin vanish. Basically, we're up to the retention vanish, which is where the coin is going to be placed into the hand, and then it's gone. So kind of combining the two things together, where it's going to be rolled like this, but we're also going to pull our fingers back so that it's extended, and then as it's rolled, we extend our fingers and then pull them back again. So a lot's going to happen all at the same time. So the coin is apparently placed into the hand, and it ends up getting rolled all the way back behind those fingers here, like this. But because it seems to be taken at the fingertips, it really seems like the coin has been placed in and taken away at the same time. This is one of these nice versions of a coin vanish that is pretty natural. Because if you were to come up and pluck the coin away from your fingertips, that might be the way that you would do it. You might grab it away like that. Still doesn't feel quite as good to me as dropping a coin into my hand and making it vanish, but you'll find things that suit you. But that is about as close as we can get to some modern coin work. Now we're going to talk about Joe Berg's thumb coin vanish, which is a specific way of getting into the thumb palm that again uses something that's kind of unnatural. This is what it looks like. The coin's placed here and then pushed into the fist, and then shown that it's in the fist, placed there again, pushed into the fist, and then it vanishes. Now, all that's happening is the coin gets pushed into the fist for real and is shown, and then the second time, you just push your thumb past the coin, place it right into clip, like that, and then bring it out. It's just kind of an unnatural way of getting a coin from one place to another. I suppose that if you wanted to, you could make up some reason and say, you know, you've got to trap that coin in your fist so it's impossible for it to get out of there. But again, you're justifying something that's somewhat of an unnatural action. Now, let's talk about the pickup vanish. The pickup vanish is really an improvement to the French drop because the coin is simply displayed at the fingertips and then taken at the fingertips, and then it vanishes. Now, like I said, I like to take the coin from my left hand, so all that's happening here is the coin's just allowed to slide down. So instead of this display or this display, it's simply held at the fingertips with the fingertips straight up and down, and the coin is allowed to slide behind them. So when this hand comes over, the coin slides down, and then this hand comes up. So if you're showing the coin and transferring it from one hand to the other, then it sort of makes sense. You're trying to be open about it and do it at the fingertips. So that's not such a bad one. Now, I did show you before front and back finger palming. It's seldom done anymore, but let's just say that you wanted to do that from a finger palm position to show that the coin was not here and not here, and then the coin comes back. You could do that. So front and back finger palming, again, if you're up to it and you want to practice it, That's entirely up to you. The back finger clip vanish is a little bit more secure for something like this, and the size doesn't matter as much. With the front and back finger clip, the coin has to be just less than the width of those two center fingers so that you can clip it between the tips of your index and your little finger like that. For the back clip vanish, you can use just about any size coin, and you could vanish it without using your other hand. So you're just going to clip it between these two fingers behind your hand like that. And you can also bring it back to the front by rotating your hand down and bringing those fingers in. From the back, it looks like this. So I would be looking at the audience view like that. So from the front, you're rotating it around. Your thumb then pushes the coin back to the front, and it's clipped between those two fingers. You wouldn't want to spread your hand wide like that. You just show this. And then you can put your thumb over the coin, and as your hand rotates forward, you can push it back through those fingers so it ends up behind your hand again. It's just as easy to produce it from that clip as it is from other things. So now we go into a section that talks about ditching the coin, basically getting rid of the coin after vanishing it in your hand. And there are many different places that you can do this. We did talk about placing it into your shirt pocket. It's also possible to ditch it just into, the pants pocket, something like that. But you have to motivate these actions. Let me show you something that is suggested in the book. So if you place a coin into your hand like this and then turn, by leaning in, it allows you to bring this hand back. But you want to watch that elbow, because if that elbow sticks out, it's obvious that you're putting something into your pocket. So you want your elbow to stick out away from the audience so that they can't see it. But you also have to have a motivation. Why would you turn like this? You've got to focus for some reason. So, these are just ideas that are in the book, but really you can ditch the coin anywhere that you have a pocket that you can get rid of, or you can use some of the modern ditching techniques of a top it. You can use sleeving techniques. Now, we are going to get into that a little bit later too. But right now, let's talk about what you do if you don't ditch it. These are changeover palms. Okay, so I'll show you the elusive changeover palm. So basically, you're going to take a coin, you're going to place it into your hand, you're going to vanish it like that, so that it's not here, it's not here, it's not here. And that's the elusive changeover palm. What's happening is you go into a thumb clip, like so, and this would be the audience's view of it. Now, my view of it is this. And I'm going to bring my left hand in and clip with these two fingers and bring it behind my left hand as I turn my right hand up like that. Then I'm going to reverse those actions and then turn my left hand like this. So, clipped here, I show my left hand, I bring those fingers in, and I rotate my right hand out and show it. And then as my right hand comes back in, the coin is going to be thumb palmed again as I show my left hand. Now, this does require a bit of a body turn to do this. I'm going to show you my preferred method in just a little bit. But let's talk about the thumb changeover, which is also in there. From the thumb clip, it would go like this. The coin would vanish, like so. And it's not here. And it's not here. The coin is gone. And this one, it's a little hokey, but it has some possibilities that you might be able to use it for something. Same position here. When you show the back of your left hand like that, you're going to be clipping the coin, transferring from your right thumb clip to left back thumb clip, like this. So, here to here. And then you're going to be bringing both of your hands up and separating them with the coin held behind your left hand in the thumb clip here. Now, you don't want to open your right hand all the way, so you have to keep your right hand's thumb also a little tight. Focus the attention on your fingers, and then you just put it right back in, turn your hands over, and show the other side of your left hand. Now, like I said, that's not the way that I prefer to do it now. There are much better ways to change the coin over. For example, this would be a way that I would show the coin not to be in my hands now. So it's not here, it's not here, not on the backs of either hand. Now this changeover is known as a hand washing action. So this one uses a classic palm. Basically I go from a fingertip rest into a classic palm. The coin vanishes. And now I'm going to run my right hand, which is classic palming the coin, down to my left fingertips like this. So just like that. Then I'm going to turn my hands over with the fingertips together, and you can see the coin here, and as I do that my left hand is going to run up my fingers and just cover the coin. So down, turn, and the coin is covered. Now I'm just going to push the coin back down with my left hand. So in the washing action, the coin is actually pushed from here to the tips of the fingers. Then I'm going to rotate my right hand around, palm the coin again, and brush the backs of my hands. So again, not here, not here, not here, not here. Now as exposed as I can do it, not here, not here, not here, and not here. Of course, coin magic, there's been a lot of advancements. We're just talking about some of the things that are in the book and some of the things you can do with it. But remember, all of these techniques, all of the palms, all of the changeovers, all of the displays can be applied to many, many objects. That's what we're going to be doing in future lessons. So look around your own environment, find interesting things that you can do magic with. It doesn't have to be limited to just coins. I hope you'll join me for the next lesson when we start to get into really cool coin tricks.